A couple of years ago, one of my friends was discussing a situation in which he was pursuing a girl. The guy was Indian and the girl was Asian. After discussing this situation, one of the people who was listening to the story, an Asian girl, said to him bluntly, "Why don't you just stick to your own race?" That line resonated with me because it showed that there are still a lot of people out here who have a problem with interracial dating. And that's what I want to discuss today. What exactly is the big deal behind it? I'm biracial, she's biracial, my friend Blaze. We're going to get down to the bottom of this. I think that in the last couple of years, it's not as big of a deal to date outside your race. I mean, I see a lot more couples out. I mean, I live in New York. A lot of couples that don't really, that are mixed race. But I do know some people that still have a problem with it. Do you think that there's that issue as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, for example, right now I'm living in Pennsylvania, but I'm originally from New York. I lived in Brooklyn for like almost all of my life up until pretty much I was 16 visits back. But in Pennsylvania, a good example is my personal experience. Like, I was walking around with my dad, and sometimes I get confused for being his girlfriend because he's white. And people just look and frown upon us like it's just taboo. And then I'm dating someone else right now who's outside my race, and like when we go to Chinatown or any Asian places, they kind of glare at him like, "Why are you bringing this girl here?" Mm-hmm. Or they kind of just look at me and what they decide to do sometimes. And I've seen it when they offer me service. Like, they'll give someone something for free in front of me, and I'm just sitting there like, if you're gonna do that, why don't you do that for me or everyone else who's in the room, like equal opportunity. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's definitely something that exists, and it's something where people, I think, even though it's 2015 and everyone's like, it's 2015, get with the program. Yeah. It's not. It's definitely something that's very apparent, and it still happens.
What about the idea of culture? I mean, I know a lot of other cultures will say, not necessarily mine, but there are some cultures that'll say, like, I want to stick with somebody who has the same cultural values. For me, I think that's somewhat of an excuse sometimes, because personality, which is, I think, the basis of whether or not you have a connection with somebody, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with somebody's cultural values. I think that somebody who uses that as an excuse to not, give somebody a chance is really cutting themselves off. Like, they'll see a guy, or a girl will see a guy, or a guy will see a girl who they have a connection with, they're talking to, but they'll just like stay away and purposely not try to get to know them because of that fact.
And like also because of the way they're raised, and also like there's certain cultures that are very xenophobic. Yeah. Like they fear other cultures, and then because of that, it sets up, I don't want to say the predisposition, but it sets up a trend where it gets passed down through the family, what have you, and it doesn't get wiped out. And at the end of the day, like, I know I was emailing you and stuff before, showing you my ideas and stuff, but at the end of the day, it really depends on the individual person. I mean, if you like this person, go out with them, and if it's reciprocated, go out with them. I don't see anything wrong with that. But yeah, at the end of the day, you want to win mommy and daddy's approval. But at the end of the day, it's really what matters in your heart and how you feel and how you want to live your life. So you shouldn't be using what your parents imposed upon you growing up as an excuse to like not date outside of your race.
Do you feel as though there are certain interracial couples that are more accepted than others?
To be honest, based on my experiences, I think if you're dating someone who's similar to your own race, like for example, if I dated someone who was Hispanic and was like almost the same skin color as me, I think that would be more acceptable because it's considered a pass, as opposed to versing like me dating someone who's white and everyone's like staring at you like, you need a date within your own race. Yeah. I think it's more so if the skin color matches, that's okay, or if it's similar, it's okay. But once you're like a different pigment, it's almost like the unspoken thing where it's like off limits. Like you can't do that, and people just, you just get that vibe sometimes.
Well, for me, I think it's...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I think it's more of... I don't necessarily agree with the pigment thing. Like, for example, a white and a black person, I don't really feel like there's as much of a stigma behind that as, let's say, an Hispanic with an Indian person. And the reason why I would say that's the case is because there's so much history between whites and blacks that it's almost that you become numb to the idea that, like, although there's a lot of racial tension still, you become also numb to the idea that they could be together because you're just constantly seeing that. But if you see an Hispanic with an Indian, you don't see that like at all. You just don't see them, like, you don't really hear any history between the two, and it just seems unorthodox. So I think it comes down a lot to whether or not, it's been portrayed in the media, or, you see it in movies. And I think that in order for us to accept people of all races to date, people of other races as well, I guess, what you need to do is to put it in the media, put it in, movies, show celebrities that are in unique interracial situations, so that you can say to yourself subconsciously, when you see it down the street, not a big deal. So as you can see, we decided to add a couple people because they had their own takes on this. Frank, Christy, do you feel as though in our lifetime we're ever going to get to a point where we can just look at an interracial couple and not think twice about it? Like, it's just whatever.
On a personal level? No.
Why not?
I just feel like as long as we're humans, as long as we have free will and just barriers, whether or not they be big or small socially or just family, at a family level, there's always going to be people whose eyebrows get raised when they see an interracial couple, I feel like we're getting a lot further away from how we used to be, to where these people aren't being targeted on the streets and beaten, just because they're seen walking together. We're definitely heading in the right direction, but I truly think that it'll never reach a point fully to where everybody just accepts it without saying nothing, It's getting there, but I don't think we'll ever really, climb up that last hurdle.
I think black and white has made a lot of progress.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain ones that are very slow because of cultural stuff. Like, I just think that type of relationship is progressing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like other ones might still be progressing with a lot slower.
Like almost a standstill.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be so much cultural or like racial intermixing eventually, to the point where you're not going to be able to distinguish who's who, where you're pretty much going to be forced to get along. Well, not forced, but because we're so mixed with so many different bloodlines and everything, you have no choice really but to say, look, I can't be more superior than this person because we all look alike. So that's why I'm saying,
That's what I was gonna get at. I mean, but I was gonna say the same thing. But I don't know if that's gonna happen in 50 years.
Yes.
I mean, maybe like 200.
Yeah.
Definitely in like 200 years, we're gonna be at a point where it's just like, I don't even know what race you are.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we fighting about? Although we'll find something else to fight about.
Yeah, of course.
What section are you from?
Yeah, like,
We always do.
we have to beef. Like, that's just our nature,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. But I just hope that at one point it just doesn't become an issue that I have to like think about in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Anyways, thank you for showing up, all you guys, and giving me your takes. I am Angel Dodger with 3 people.
Just randomly 3 people.
It's a lot of editing. I'll see you next time.
If you just don't like a certain type of food, or if you really like a certain type of food, it's like you kind of want to find those traits like in a person, as far as like, oh, I like girls with
Big ass.
yeah, well, not even